Hey there guys, Roy from Apotheca Marketing. One of the questions we get a lot of times from clients and the public in general is how to track easily clicks on either menu items or buttons on a website, particularly now that GA4 is rolling out and people are being forced to switch, which if you haven't, make sure you have switched over because the deadline is July 1st. They're looking at their implementations and realizing there's things they want to track. So obviously, button clicks, particularly form submissions and that type of thing are conversions on your site. And you'll often want to track those or understand how those are performing. And then obviously people want to understand just in general how people are behaving on the site and what links they're clicking. So the easiest way to do this is in Google Tag Manager. And the way we recommend doing it is there's really two different ways. So you're going to want to create a trigger within Google Tag Manager. And if you're not familiar with Google Tag Manager, we're going to be doing a more in-depth view of Tag Manager, but we're going to assume that for this exercise that you have Tag Manager implemented and you know some of the basics. So there's two ways that to deal with links and buttons on the site, and you need to create a trigger for those links. To make sure that you have the variables available on the site, you're going to want to make sure that you go here first, look at variables, and make sure that clicks are here. If you're not seeing clicks here, then you just need to go to configure and choose them, because by default, I don't believe they're selected. So you just want to select all of those. I've also selected all of the form elements and that type of thing. If you're tracking videos, scrolling, just go in there and select those. Once you do that, they'll be over here. Those variables will become important in a second. You'll see why. All right, so for triggers are something that happens on the site that will fire then a tag. And so for a trigger, we need to understand the elements of the page that we want to track. And so one of the things that we can do is create just a general trigger here. So we're going to say all clicks. Now, you don't have to worry about this being sending data to Google because it's not firing a tag yet. So it's not going to be recorded in Google. We're just going to look at what it's doing. So you can either click all elements or just links. We're just doing just links right now. So let's do that. We're going to click all links because we're going to look at all clicks. Save that trigger. Okay. Now what we're going to do is preview the site. So we're going to click preview. This will start the tag assistant. We have our domain in here. And it's going to start that. And now we're going to choose a button to click. So in this case, we're going to just click the shop button. Okay. Go back over to the tag assistant. And then we can see that there's two recorded clicks here. So let's see. Both of them are the same right now because we're not recording anything as far as we're not triggering a tag. So let's look at the variables. This is going to tell us what variables are coming through from that click. So because we're just recording all of them right now, we can kind of see. So we can see that in this case, on this theme or design of the website, it doesn't have an ID for each of those buttons. It doesn't really have a target, but it does have text. And it does have class information. So in the CSS file, there is a name there. And so I don't recommend tracking or creating a rule just on text. We will be passing that information along in a minute so you can see what people are clicking on. But if that, for whatever reason, if that button name changed, if we were just specifying that button, we're going to actually set it up to track all of these buttons with this the definition of the class type. But that way we can see all of the different buttons on the site and what differentiate them by the text. But you don't want to define it by the text because one, it'll just only track those buttons with that specific text. And then if you change that text at any point, it won't track them. So let's just make sure that all of the buttons on the site use this same format. So what we're going to just do is just click on some other links on buttons. So we're going to go back to the homepage, click on a different button, and go back to the tag assistant and just take the look. And it is the global button is the string for that class, just like it was in the other one. So, yep, global button. So we're going to use this text, this portion of this text. We don't need all of it. We're going to use that. We're going to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to Google Tag Manager. And this was all clicks. So we're just going to modify this. What we're going to call this is change the name. And we're going to call it maybe clicks buttons. And I like to just give it a name of trigger. All right, so in this one here, we have changed it, and we did have all links, and now we're going to change it to some links. And so you have a bunch of different things that you can do here. So again, we saw that the ID was blank, and we saw that the text, we talked about not wanting to choose that. So we're going to use classes, and we're going to use contains, and then that bit of code that we saw in the code there, and we're going to click save. All right, so now that's our trigger. So now we need to create a tag, and we're going to click new tag. We're going to call it, let's call it GA4 clicks buttons. It's going to be a GA4 event. We need to set the configuration tag, which is just the general. This is what is saying, hey, put this on the pages. We're going to call this clicks and buttons. Just to differentiate it, if we want to go back later and add clicks for menu items or other elements of the site, that way we can kind of differentiate those names, just to have some sort of taxonomy to them to keep us organized. It doesn't really matter if this is all you're ever going to track. It's up to you. You can name it whatever you like. We're going to add 2 event parameters to this because we know that in Google's documentation, they like 2 different things that we can pass. We can pass the link URL, and we can pass the link text, and this is how they kind of specify to name those. And so what we want to do here is the link URL is a variable. So we're just going to click here, and it's the click URL. And for the text, we're going to do click text. And that will pass that dynamic variable to this tag. So we're going to save that. Oh, we're going to add the trigger first. And that is the trigger click buttons that we just set. So we've got that, got it named. We're going to save it. Okay. Now that we've saved that, we're going to go ahead and submit it and add a description. So button clicks. Now you can get as descriptive as you want here. You can add who did it so that you can keep track of that and the reason for it. We're just going to add that real quick. So publish that. Okay, go back to our workspace. And let's preview it again. Click continue. Go back to our site. Let's click cremation necklaces. And let's see. And you can see here on this link click, the click buttons is showing. And you can see here on the link click that GA buttons, that tag has fired. Now, one of the things that you can do is go into your analytics, and hopefully this will work. It doesn't always work, but we can go into debug and see, yep, we got click buttons showing, and then we can see the different parameters. We got the link text, which was cremation necklaces. That's what we clicked on. And the link URL, so that's where it went. So that information is getting passed. So that is what we wanted. Now, this will not begin to show actual data in your reports for probably about 24 hours. But if you do want to be able to see it, what you can do is when it does start to show, you can go to events, and it will be in the events list. Now, once it's there, you will be able to click on it and theoretically be able to see some of these additional widgets down here. You will not be able to do that right away though, until you actually go in and define some custom dimensions. So you'll see the events coming through, you'll see that button clicks, you'll see that information. In your regular reporting, you won't see the details until you actually go in and define some custom definitions. And so what you want to do is create a custom definition, and you're going to want to call one of them link text. We're going to call this a custom definition here. We're going to differentiate between that. You're going to see why in a minute. And so we're going to put link text, which we know is what's what we name that parameter in the tag itself. So we can go in and actually see that. So we can go back into the tags, into the buttons, and we've got link text and we've got link URL. You can actually copy those from there if you want. So we are adding that link text. Doesn't like the CD, so we're just going to call it a custom dimension. Save. We're going to create another custom dimension that is link URL. Custom dimension, if I could spell it right, is link URL. Okay. So now we have those set up as custom dimensions. They will come through in your regular reports as soon as it starts to see the data, and within generally 24 hours. Now, you don't need those custom dimensions if you're using the Explore reporting. You can actually create a report in that and use those regular dimensions without that. And we'll come back and show you how to do that in 24 hours and show you if there's any data related to that coming through from the site. But that's how you would build a report when this is actually just create that dimension for link clicks and then use link URL and link text, which will show in your metrics. So that is quickly how you set up using Google Tag Manager, how you can click buttons. This is a very similar process to how you would do the menu items. So again, if you wanted to do the menu items, you could go in and do another trigger like we did before. We could do, call it all clicks like we did before. Then clicks, all clicks, save that. Do a preview again. Go to the site. Now, in this case, we want to just look at the menu. So let's click that. And then in the tag assistant, let's see what came through. So in this case, there's a click class called top link. It does pass the text. There's no ID. So it literally would be the same setup as before. We would just, instead of the name that we'd given it for the button, the data name, we would just call it top link. So if you go back to that link, to that trigger, we would create a new one of these. So call it trigger, clicks, menu, maybe. And then click classes contains, and then instead of global button, we would put in that top link. And again, so that would be the trigger, and then we would do the tag the exact same way that we did this tag, click buttons, except we would use the different trigger that would be clicks menu, and you'd still pass the same information. It would still be the link URL and the link text, and giving it the dynamic parameter. And then you'd also want to go in and set up those dimensions in GA4, and then you can start tracking your menu clicks. So very simple process once you get the idea of GA4 and you can, or rather Google Tag Manager, and you can start to see the power of things that you can track on the site. I would caution you not to get too carried away with tracking everything, because every click, every link, all that kind of stuff, really only track those things where you want to understand user behavior and where you think you can change the site to convert better. If you just start tracking everything just to track, you're never going to really look at that data. And it's just is going to be overhead in your reporting, and it's going to count against the number of like custom dimensions and events that you can track and that kind of thing. So I hope this was helpful, and we will take a look at some of the data and how to build some of the reports around some of these custom dimensions in upcoming episodes. So give us a like, subscribe, let us know if you have any questions or run into any problems. And if you have other ways to do this, it might be easier. Let us know about that too. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.